Bonjour and welcome to Paris 2024. Welcome to the Champ de Mars and welcome to day 5, the final instalment of wheelchair rugby at the Paralympic Games. We have the playoff for 7th and 8th between Denmark and Germany. And following that, it will be the battle for bronze between GB and Australia. And here we are, 2 European nations without a win, but one must emerge victorious and one will finish their campaign in 7th, whilst the other 8th.
Mesdames et messieurs, merci d'accueillir celle qui est bénévole au sein d'APF France Handicap, secrétaire de l'association Chose, ainsi que son mari, actif défenseur des droits des personnes en situation de handicap volontaire sur Paris 2024.
Please welcome 2 people involved in championing accessibility for wheelchair users and Paris 2024 volunteers.
Marion Le Gag Paddox et Christopher Paddox.
A warm reception and attention for the performance to come. The coup de baton, a tradition that harks back to Parisian theatre. 3 strikes of the baton, drawing everyone's attention to the show to come. That will be officiated by 2 Polish referees here on day 5. So 2 European referees, 2 European nations, and first up it is Denmark, led out by their captain Leon Jørgensen. Denmark, who finished 4th at the Worlds in 2022, find themselves in the 7th-8th playoff. And as I said, their captain, Leon Jørgensen, the high classification threats of Mark Peters and Sebastian Fredriksson are always there offering tries. Their coach is Jason Regier, the 49-year-old former USA international player. This has been their Germany 4 tough assignments. They gave France, GB and Australia a real run for their money in the pools, but were a bit flat against Canada yesterday. And they'll need to pick themselves up if they're to record victory over Germany, who are here led by Marco Herbst, and Britta Kripke is out wearing 7.
Number 24, Masha Bozo. Number 25, Moritz Bruckner.
Et numéro 53.
And number 53, Justus Heinrich.
Germany at their first Paralympic Games since Beijing in 2008. Amongst the ranks is Masha Mosel, where a lot of excitement is, but Josko Vilka, the 2.0 classification player, has truly caught the eye. He has barely missed a second. Christoph Werner is the former German Paralympic player who's at the helm. And they come in off a loss to France in the semi-final that sees them battle it out for 7th and 8th today on the final day of the wheelchair rugby programme.
Please stand for the national anthem of Denmark.
Si vous le pouvez, merci s'il vous plaît de rester debout pour l'hymne national de l'Allemagne.
Please remain standing for the national anthem of Germany.
The respective national anthems of Denmark and Germany, which in their lyrics both mention nobility, which is something that courses through the very veins of wheelchair rugby. The collisions have at times made the Tour Eiffel tremble here in France's capital city. But all is fair in wheelchair rugby and war when it comes to the Champ de Mars. The Danes have been a colourful and vociferous presence in the crowd, and Jorgensen, Kormorma, Sofia Skubo and Sebastian Fredriksson are a familiar quartet who commenced the game for the Danes. You see there Jason Regier, with all of his Paralympic experience, having won bronze, silver and gold in his time as a player, looking to mastermind victory over Herbst, Wilke, Klipke and Wecker. I mentioned Josko Wilke. What an incredible two-point player he is. It's a Paralympic debut for him, as it is for the entirety of this German squad. But Josko Wilke, I'm not sure there is a more impactful midpoint player than the German wearing 5.
Allez, l'Arena Chauffard, tous ensemble, rejoignez-nous pour le compte à rebours avant le coup d'envoi. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
The fifth and final day of the wheelchair rugby is underway at Paris 2024. It is Germany against Denmark, and it is the Germans in grey who score first through Josko Wilke. Denmark went off the boil against Canada in their semi-final for the 5th place playoff. That's why they find themselves here. But if you look at the rest of their performances throughout the competition, it really has been a campaign of the finest margins. As Klipke looks to get the ball away to captain Marco Herbst, who's running out of time to get the ball across the centre line. It's a really nice pass to pick out Wilke. It's mishandled by Wecker, but fortunately the captain was shadowing him and he sweeps up the crumbs. Yeah, Denmark, if you look at their results, they lost by 2 to France, 2 to GB, and by 4 to Australia. But in all 3 matches, they were right in the mixer for the whole match. They had the lead at times, and you just feel they were just a couple of % away from getting big wins. Canada was a more deflated performance, whilst for Germany, they were well beaten by the USA and France. But again, certainly for the opening 3 periods, they've gone toe-to-toe, wheel-to-wheel with the very best in the world, and in many senses, simply qualifying for the Paralympics has been a marquee achievement for them. 16 years without a visit to the biggest, stiffest competition on earth in wheelchair rugby, and Josko Wilke is continuing to have interventions that are raising his profile and elevating his star in the game. Picks the pocket of Göransson, but fortunately for the Danes, it'll be their inbound, their possession, and Fredriksson is found really very nicely by Kormama. And Fredriksson, as he's done so frequently, cruises across the line. He's an elegant player, is Sebastian Fredriksson, and the way that he glides around the court, benefiting from good work from his lower point players. You can see that work being employed. Kripke accompanies Wilke. And there's just enough distraction being offered by Vecka and by Kripke to Wilke to pick his spot and just glide through. Fredriksson, watch him accelerate. The Danes in the stands certainly do, and they certainly enjoy it. Tries flowing easily for both sides at the moment. A good opportunity to just talk any newcomers through some of the dynamics out there on the court. You'll see on the backs of the chairs there are number values. Göransson at the moment with 3 at the back of his chair. That denotes that he is a highly functioning individual with quadriplegia. As far as the sports standards go, 3.5 is the highest classification, so the highest functionality players will be classed as a 3.5, and those with a lower functionality can go down to 0.5. That's a good steal from the captain. Germany concede the first turnover of the match. Fredriksson, highest functioning player out there for Germany, is looking to pick his route through. It's a lovely claim on the stretch by Kormama, who is classed as a midpoint player at 1.5. Good balance to the Danish side. And to sum up the chat about point values out there, the cumulative score of the 4 players on court at any one time can only add up to 8. That is unless you have a female player out there, which both these sides do. They have Sofie Skubo in the white of Denmark, and they have Britta Kripke wearing 7 for Germany, and that gives teams an extra 0.5 that they can add to their score. So when you go around totting up the numbers, both these teams will add up to 8.5. So there is, in theory, more functionality out there. Germany didn't really have any passing options there, so they threw the big Hail Mary. It goes dead. And that is another turnover, in essence, for Denmark, who also, if you can just see the lit-up arrow on the centre line, there you go, just above the blue board there with the Paralympic emblem. That shows you who will have the first possession of the next period. It won't be a tip-off. The tip-off is only at the start of the match. Göransson is fouled there, so Wilke is in the penalty box. But Denmark will have the first possession of the next period, so if they score here, which they will do, they'll do it in their own time as well, because they want to block Wilke in, which they do successfully through Kormama. So Vilka has to put his arm up to say, I'll take the inbound, which isn't his preferred role when it comes to inbounding the ball. He picks out his captain, Herbst, though. Oh, Vecca, that's a nice take and a really arrowed ball as well from the captain. (8-7). Some replacements coming onto the court. Replacing to Denmark. Who have we got? Mark Peters, one of their men full of gusto. They've got 2 3.5ers on the court now. So it's a high-low strategy, as it's known, where you've got 2 absolute guns who fly around the court. They add up to 7. Sophia Skubo is on there as a 0.5, but remember, there's an additional 0.5 bump that you get with a female on the court. And Peters making his presence known early. Good turnover. And Denmark squeezing Germany at the moment. Quick break for the mechanics. Well, Germany have taken a timeout here. It's a coach's timeout as well, which is 60 seconds long. I think it's just an opportunity for Christoph Werner to just cool the jets, reevaluate and refocus where the team is at. Bit of a sticky patch with a few turnovers going against them. And now they defend. They employ key defence. They're inviting the Danes to come onto them. They're looking to flood the try-scoring area. Peters is in there, and he's not closely guarded enough, and also Herbst is he who is closest. There's no pick bar on his chair. If you look at the front of him and Peters' chair, there's no sort of miniature shopping trolley at the front, which is known as a pick bar. And the pick bar is used by more defensively minded players to lock up the chairs of the more mobile try scorers, the likes of Peters, the likes of Fredriksson and Herbst. Tricky inbound here for Germany. You've only got 10 seconds to do so, and you've only got 12 seconds to transition the ball across the halfway line. Down to 29, 28, and with time running out, Germany are forced into an on-court player timeout. Good pressure from Denmark. Well, we ticked through 12 seconds, so maybe that was a whisker lucky. Marco Herbst, who hails from Rendsburg, is a talented swimmer in his youth, a national junior level swimmer, and he also is a big water polo player as well, and credits water polo for being that standing sport in terms of transitional skills, spatial awareness, the movement of players around you, and being able to adapt to wheelchair rugby so adeptly. 35-year-old. Britta Kripke has freed herself up on the far side, but it's really good work from Vilka, who manages to snare up the chairs of the Danes, including Jesper Kluwer, wearing the 8 jersey, and it's a try. Easy for Fredriksson when there's 3 chairs on the court. Herbst has been sent to the penalty box for that prior infringement. He is blocked by Peters for the inbound, so Germany have their 3.5 off the court, but that's really smart play. They see that Wilka is free from Sophia Scuba. So the captain goes long, Wilka gobbles it up. And that's really well dealt with. It's difficult when your high classification player is the one taking the inbound, because when you're thinking about the makeup of the rest of the court, if you've got a maximum of 8 points out there, with your 3.5 off, it means that you are aiming, let me get my maths right, at 4.5 points out there, and they're being marked by 8 points. So if you can sort of look at the mismatches in point terms, it's a little bit reductive, but it certainly gives a sense of how those mismatches are trying to be created by the teams. It's a challenging inbound and really well taken by Mark Peters. He spent a bit of time in the United States of America, down in Texas, honing his craft. And you've seen this with quite a lot of European players. They've tried to spend time over in the United States of America. It is a red-hot, thriving scene over there, and very competitive. Have, you know, arguably more top teams playing each other regularly. And one of the big things they speak out, what a shot from Peters, just as Vecke looked to be cruising across, and they're in a spot of bother here momentarily as time ticks away. But it's great composure demonstrated by the Germans, and Wilka circumvents the last of the defense. Gets around Kruet, who can't orientate himself quick enough to affect Wilka. Coming back to the US point, they speak of the competitiveness and the competitive spirit, actually, the atmosphere of which wheelchair rugby is played in the States. And Peters, someone who is benefiting and bringing that knowledge back to Europe, bringing it back to his Danish teammates and to his country, where the sport is generally on the rise. There's more spectators, there's more participants. With the World Championships having been there a couple of years ago, there's a lot more broadcast as well. You find it on sports TV a lot more. All part of the visibility that's needed to grow a sport. Denmark 14. Germany 12. Into the tactical time manipulation period of the quarter. And a little bit of bump and roll there from Peters, who collides wheels with Herbst. He can't get him now because that's a good arrival from Kruer. And the reason that the Danes are taking their time is so they can score around about 102, 105. They'll have had some instructions from their bench. And the reason they're doing this is because they're trying to manipulate the clock based on the possession period that teams have, so that they can be the last to score in this half. Germany now, they want to leave a little bit of time on the clock. Penalty try awarded. So you can see 43 seconds left of the period, 40 seconds possession for the Danes. So they're going to try and take as long as possible to score, so that they leave barely a scrap of time for Germany to respond. They're leading by 2 here, Denmark. If they score now, that'll be 3, and they have the first possession of the next period. So this could lead to a 4-try lead. Germany key up, but Fredriksson and Peters too good for it. They leave 4.6 seconds to the Germans, who go long. It's a great ball launched by Herbst, but Wecker lost it in transit. Because it's gone straight out, this will be an inbound in the Germans' half, so this could be double bubble for the Danes if they're able to convert, and the clock will be reset to 4.2 as well, because if no one touches it, it means no time has elapsed. With it being a dead ball, we see a few changes being rung. So Peters is off, Jørgensen is in. The inbound comes from Moma, and Denmark make it count emphatically. Brilliant substitutions. Momet to Jørgensen. And a little bonus ball for the Danes. Germany hold on. And that is a period well played by Denmark, with Jørgensen coasting across without a chair near him. End of the first period in the 7th-8th playoff here at Paris 2024. And Jørgensen and Denmark lead Germany 17-13.
L'Arena Champ de Mars, est-ce que dans cette salle, il y a des supporters de l'équipe de France?
There we go, 2 steals from the Danes and 2 turnovers against Germany. That is the 4-try deficit that makes it 17-13 at the break.
Aujourd'hui, ça va être une véritable razzia pour preuve de nouvelles.
Il va falloir taper des mains à 3, toutes ces pouces ensemble, attention, 1, 2, 3. On était parti sur une cabine, c'était pas mal également. Vous pouvez également crier, mesdames et messieurs, you can shout if you want to. Attendez, vous voulez pas absolument pas attendre le 3. Just wait for the mic cue. À 3, mesdames et messieurs, attendez. Et maintenant que vous savez taper dans les mains, et maintenant que vous savez crier, mesdames et messieurs, il va falloir faire les 2.
Second period ready to get underway very shortly after our sports presenter has revved up the Champ de Mars. Second period underway at the Champ de Mars at Paris 2024, the final day of the wheelchair rugby programme. Denmark and Germany battling it out for 7th place. Denmark, who've rediscovered their verve that went missing yesterday against Canada as they look to try and make a 5th place final. And they've emerged onto the court in good nick today against Germany. It's a penalty try to Denmark. Jakob Mortensen did make it across the line, but the German Nika Volter had already left the court. Josko Wilke, who took the best 2.0 classification player at the World Championships, which were hosted in Denmark in 2022. And it's the same award that he claimed at the European Championships, well, the 3 last consecutive championships, and he only debuted in the sport in 2019. So, age 23, he is a really, really very exciting prospect, not just for Germany, but for the sport. Being so young, you'd hope he can maybe ignite the imagination of a few other youngsters. Peters gets dispossessed, and in his over-exuberance to correct his error, he is penalised for a holding foul, or a reaching foul, I beg your pardon, making contact with the arm. So Peters is off, and he's out of action for either 60 seconds or until Germany score. Whichever comes soonest, it'll be Germany scoring, don't worry about that. Becker transfers it to Wilke. Need to get a move on here, Germany. And they do eventually make it across the centre line, right on the cusp of 12 seconds. And Becker, who was scouted by Jens Zaubrier, who is wearing 12 for Germany in this Paralympics. Gets across the line for another try, almost pinches that one as well. Peters is back on, and he's back with a vengeance. Revved up by his own frustration of the turnover and penalty, no doubt. 1-2. Wasn't completely pure, but it works out well with Momet just doing enough. Just been the steam taken out of the match at the beginning of this period. It was quite an entertaining finish with those turnovers from Denmark and the maximising of the long ball that didn't go to the grip of a German. Peters goes over the top, and it's interesting there because Germany were trying to press Denmark a little bit higher up the court, full court press as they might say. But with the inbounding so good and then Peters so fast, Denmark were able to back their launch from the backcourt, and of course they can back Peters to be fast enough to retrieve it. A bit of old school long ball in footballing terms. Momet looks to cut off Wilke. But the man who is a keen skier and pre-impairment, played a lot of hockey, athletics, he was a diver as well, showing his range of athleticism there in muscling his way across the line. Peters, who fell in love with the game at the Invictus Games, picked up a bronze there after stepping on an IED on a tour of Afghanistan with the Danish military. A number of athletes to have emerged from the Invictus Games and now be playing at the very top level at the Paralympics, the likes of him and Stu Robinson, who's Great Britain's high pointer, who'll be playing for bronze. And an equipment change for Florian Vongard, the man they call Flow Rider. Arguably the coolest name in the German team. He's a lovely player, Sebastian Fredriksson. And in a sort of bout of nominative determinism, born in Frederiksborg as well, so plays for the Freddy Falcons. A lot of individuals playing for Denmark play for the Frederiksborg Falcons. Came from a sporty family. Cites Pilates as a key training mechanism for him in terms of his balance and his strength that he employs in the chair. Peters gets snarled up by Bongard. Volta's there, spins away. And look who's freed himself up, it's Kormomet. He plays for the Aarhus Burnouts in Denmark. And he's across to extend this lead to 22-18. Released just in the nick of time. They're jockeying for position here as Kurt Busk, the 57-year-old at his second Paralympics, comes on for the inbound. Does some nice work as well to tie up Vilka. And now Mortensen. Mortensen being pursued by Bongard, but Mortensen too quick and already home. Tight get out there for Germany as Peters and Momet were working in unison, but it's a beautiful bit of pass and move there. Bongard back onto the ball, Volta arrives, it's fluid from the Germans, and that's beautifully worked with Vilka applying the finishing touch. Speared to Peters. And Mortensen, he's a two-time Danish champion at electric hockey, which is also known as power chair hockey. Zips across for another try. Timeout called by Germany. Time to reassess the manner in which the game is unfolding. It's been a more composed and considered second period for the Germans. Well, the whole quartet shuffled by Denmark. You don't see that too often. All four being changed. Jason Regier has the luxury of a lot of talent there to bring on. Thomas Peh wearing one is on. He's joining Captain Jørgensen and Fredriksson. The nomination of the inbound is going to come from Krue. Fredriksson, too fast for Vilka. Volta almost mounts Fredriksson's chair, but the number 10 accelerates away. And the Danish fans are very happy indeed. Thomas Peh, who is on, incidentally, is at the back here, making sure that Wecker can't do anything. He made his Danish debut against Germany back in 2005, so nearly 20 years on. He is now here in the Paralympics against them as well. Amazing journey, amazing dedication to the sport from Peh. Flow Rider's back on his wheels. Germany are looking to mount another attack, trailing by 4 tries. Vilka goes long and it's precise. Very good pass into the arms of Wecker. Fredriksson to Göransson. Tosses it away. They've been in the cafes and the bars around the Champ de Mars, the Danish fans. They've been getting into the cafes early and getting excited and here in full colour, in full voice to support their team. They've been a very, very strong presence in terms of just the general vibe that's been created here at the arena, which is only a temporary arena. Sadly, it's going to be deconstructed after the Paralympics. They will host judo here, para-judo, after the wheelchair rugby programme is complete. And then this structure, designed by the revered architect Jean-Michel Wilmot, will be taken apart, but it is all made out of sustainable materials, so it will be redistributed and reused and not a beam wasted from the largely timber structure. And the Champ de Mars will be reinstated to its former glory, which is a big open promenade here that is overlooked by the greatest monument in Paris, La Tour Eiffel. It's been a hub for all the Olympic and Paralympic sports, from the beach volleyball to the judo, the wrestling, now the para-wheelchair rugby and para-judo to come. Germany up to 25 tries. Stoppage incoming for a bit of kit that may have taken a blast. Well, it's actually some additional taping. Mika Volta. These equipment stops are permitted for attention to the chairs as well as the athletes. A lot of tape, lots of resin is used, similar to the resin that you find in handball, that you find athletes using. Really heavily laid on. It's to help with the grip, it's to help the ball stick, to the point where the courts will pick up quite a lot of it because of the residue on the ball. So having the periods, breaks and half times, you have the volunteers working incredibly hard to mop and shine and wipe and keep the surface as pristine as possible. Although you can see that it's taken a bit of wear and tear across the 5 days that we've been here. Speaking of wear and tear, where that one? Göransson arriving, but it's brilliant composure from Bongard, and the ball's worked up to Wecker. It's a really nice score from Germany, who trail by 3. Denmark looking to pick the moment they score here. They'll want to score last in the period, as ever. It is Germany's possession to open the second half, so particularly pertinent if they are to maintain this 4-try advantage, which they just about do. Göransson getting across the spike. Volta throwing himself at him. Look at that desire to get around. Spins on a sixpence, gets back underway, looks to reach in, and topples himself in the process. Britta Kripke. Inbound from Germany, time ticking away. Herbst is back on. The Germans once again at the conclusion of a period find themselves robbed. Just one minor lapse in concentration can proves so terminal in a match of wheelchair rugby. It is a punishing sport. It's one that has no mercy for errors, and turnovers are king. Göransson right now is king of the key. Grappling away, trying to take as much time out of the clock before heading across the line. 9.7 seconds for Germany to respond. They trail by 5. They went long last time, and they gave Denmark a gilt-edged opportunity to respond. They find themselves intercepted again. They're not going to get the score that they wanted to close out the period, because Fredriksson, who's fired up, arrives right place, right time. And Fredriksson gets the pats on the back and the fist bumps. And Denmark have a handsome lead here at half-time in the wheelchair rugby. 7th, 8th playoff, Denmark 31, Germany 26. Well, that's the statistical shakedown of the opening half here in the 7th, 8th playoff. Steals big for Denmark, and so too turnovers against Germany. The deficit is 5, Denmark 31, Germany 26.
Mesdames et messieurs, vous êtes absolument géniaux ce matin, ladies and gentlemen. You are so amazing this morning. On va la faire ensemble un petit jeu. We are going to do a little game all together. La première chose à faire pour vous, c'est une fois de plus de vous mettre debout si vous le pouvez. Allez, stand up if you're able, en France. Mettez-vous debout, 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 tout en haut. Ici, debout, debout, debout. Please stand up. Yes, that's it. Now, can you put your hands in the air? Est-ce que vous pouvez mettre vos mains en l'air? Très bien. Maintenant, vous les mettez sur votre gauche. Can you put your hands on the left side? Okay. So, in a few seconds, on the music, you have to go left, right, left, right. Ok, on va aller de gauche à droite dans quelques instants sur la musique. On va commencer à gauche. Put your hands on the left side. Let's go, music. Restez comme ça pour le moment. Yes. On va aller plus vite. Excellent ici, mesdames et messieurs. Continuez, continuez jusqu'au bout de la musique. Et maintenant, vous pouvez vous applaudir.
Ok, c'est pas mal. Allez, l'arena, ça donne quoi? Qui ça? Qui ça? Où ça? Où ça? Ensemble. Qui ça? Qui ça? Où ça? Où ça? Plus fort la ménage sur Mars.
The Champ de Mars, which has been the home of the wheelchair rugby for Paris 2024, has been bursting with life, bursting with joy. The big screen karaoke in full flow. And once again, I must say chapeau to those putting on the show here, because it has brought the arena to life day after day. And this has not just been for the enjoyment of the fans. The athletes too have been remarking about what an experience this has been. Family friendly, full of glee, and an amazing compliment to some incredible wheelchair rugby. The 7th-8 playoff is halfway through, and it is Denmark leading Germany 31-26. Second half of the 7th-8 playoff at Paris 2024 in the wheelchair rugby back underway. And Germany in grey, trailing Denmark 31-26, have the first possession, and they have the first opportunity to score. Sauerbria almost eking across, but is repelled. That's beautiful chair control from Wilke in reverse. And that's very nice work from Mika Volter, his fellow high pointer, just to lock up that Danish defence deep in the key. They, though, go over the top. Nice and easy for Fredriksson. He's had an accomplished Paralympics, the Danish number 10. Volter gets away from the Danish defence. Ooh, almost turns that corner a little too tight. Manages to remain balanced and up on both wheels. Fredriksson. Fifth day of competition, 5th consecutive day for these athletes. Göransson, the captain, getting plenty of court time here. A fair few tries as well. Flo Bongard. Tricky inbound, and there's a lot of pressure on Wilke, who's being swarmed upon by Göransson. Fredriksson then hoovers up the crumbs, and Momet has negotiated himself into the key. Really tricky inbound that you saw. Wilke sandwiched between two Danish chairs. And the big arms of Göransson proving enough to spoil the possession. Oh, that's unfamiliar. Little hand in the cookie jar there as Fredriksson was looking to just get across the line. Yeah, I think that's come off Fredriksson as well as the last touch. German players are heading to the bench. It's a coach's timeout.
Using their second and final coach's timeout with 60 seconds available.
Changes have been made as well for Denmark. They've used it as an opportunity. They've got Buskon again. And Thomas Pett. Busk and Pett, who share 109 years between them. A very experienced duo too, who've given a great deal to the game of wheelchair rugby. That is a sensational inbound from Bongard, and then it's a dangerous spinning foul from Peters, who appeals to the referee in disagreement, and this could be flagrant. Well, it doesn't look like it will be. The dynamics of the chair working against Well, Peters and, well, ultimately Salabria there. Peters is dispatched to the penalty box. So, golden opportunity for Germany to close the gap here. It's currently at 6. They're up against 3 chairs. And Wilke claims the ball. Now, he'll just wheel away, and if you watch Salabria, he positions himself in front of Peters because Wilke will score. And because of the presence of Salabria there at the bottom, Peters will have to nominate himself for the inbound, which he does so. And that means that Denmark now don't have one of their 3.5 players on the court. So it's going to be a challenge to pick out Fredriksson. I said that. They made it look so simple. And instinctively, Peters gets racing off. Fredriksson finds him with the ball. Pretty much a no-look pass over the shoulder. It's all about the agility, all about the movement of Fredriksson as Denmark employ a key defence. Only allowed 3 in there at one time, though, so they have to be careful about who gets sucked in deeper. Wilke shimmies right, turns left, gets away from Peters and gets to the line. Fredriksson scampers down the touchline. You have to applaud not just the speed, but also the knowledge of the dimensions of the chair, really, and the understanding of the amount of room that you have, because those painted lines can come into very sharp focus very quickly, especially when you've got a defender bearing down upon you. And Germany are really under the pump here. Nice transfer over the shoulder. Wilke onto the ball. They'll need to bounce it soon because you're only allowed to be in possession for 10 seconds, but instead, Salabria works hard to get free. Now bounce to Volta, the shot clock ticking down. Wilke receives it back from Volta. They were in a real pickle there, Germany, but they held their composure. They worked the ball and their players around the court very nicely. And they scored with a few seconds to spare. This will be all a lot easier for the Danes. You're wondering why they don't always reference the number of tries that are scored or go mad for the personal totals. It's very much a team game. Of course, the team sports are a team game, but the real areas in which a match is won is the turnovers, the steals, the gameplay around possession. 99 times out of 100, you are expected to score when you're in possession. It is all about those efforts, those little nuanced bits of play, the work of guys like Busk or Pet, who trap an opposition player and they give Fredriksson and Peters the freedom to go top pace. And Peters has made a clumsy contact. And a clumsy contact that didn't need to be made, and we've got a German on the deck. Technical foul is called, so not flagrant. Peters sort of had his mouth aghast and his eyes wide open in disbelief to say, hey, I didn't mean that. The intent not there, but the consequence plain to see. Bongard picked up and dusted down, and still professing his innocence from the penalty box. No one ever did it who's inside, did they? Germany playing against 3 Danes. resistance a little stiffer. Don't have the pace to get to Wilke. Sauerbria has cut off Peters, so once again, Germany creating a mismatch out here, and they're trying to get in the way of Fredriksson. This is the guy that they need to neutralise for the inbound. Coach's timeout called by Jason Regier. There he is, best two-point player in the game, arguably. Recognised 3 times consecutively at the Euros, and so too at the Worlds that were held in Vejle in Denmark. Very nimble, good game awareness. Super composed as well. And because the timeout was called, it means that Denmark can change who is delivering the inbound, and they can also change who's on the court. And we're seeing Morten Elmholdt onto the court, receiving the ball from, I think it was Kurt Busk. Morten Elmholdt on for some cherished Paralympic minutes. Germany responding through Sauerbria.
First try of the game for Germany's number 12, Jens Sauer.
Mama goes to Elmholdt, who 1-2s it to Mama. Mama goes easy street all the way to the line. Mama has been penalised there. So he's into the penalty box. Some changes are going to be made here by Germany. The captain, Herbst, is on to the court. Moritz Bruckner. He makes his major competition debut here in Paris at these Paralympics, having contributed to the qualifier that got Germany to this first games in 16 years. That's Wilke. You can pretty much guarantee will not be leaving the court at all. He's been their multi-minute man. And he is watching what his teammates are doing. They're trying to snare up Göransson, and they've done so pretty successfully. It's Bongard and Bruckner double teaming him up on the halfway line, because he's going to be someone that they're going to want to inbound to. Göransson escapes the pick bars of the low classification players, and then he's working even harder to get across the halfway line. All the attention on the Danish captain, so Mormat, who's out of the penalty box, can coast home. So all these little battles that go on in the other realms of the court, it's so easy to get caught ball watching, but you look at Busk trapping Bruckner up there on the halfway line. That's all part of the strategy. Certainly for Denmark, part of the strategy isn't seeing players going to the penalty box the whole time. Elmholdt, the latest visitor for making contact with the arm. And they're making the scoring easy for Germany, who'll play against 3 all day. Elmholdt nominates himself for the inbound because Bongard is there blocking him off. Right, Göransson has 2 players on him. He manages to drift away. He's looking over his shoulder and Gets a ricochet off the chair. He's going to fight to keep it in play, then maintains the balance and collects again off Elmholt. Look at that awareness, the knowing where the ball is and where your chair is. You're looking over your left and your right shoulder. The wheel did come into play as it slipped through his grasp, but he did recover. And that is a sumptuous ball over the top. And Germany have 37 tries. Denmark 43, Germany 37. 90 seconds of the period remain. Oh, it's just hit the chair of Bongard, but Wilke is there to scoop up the ball. Just in the nick of time. Got a bit lucky on that ricochet. Germany back to within 5. They will have the first possession of the fourth and final period. So if they can be the last team to score in this period, that will represent a 2-try swing and reduce the gap to 3. The dying embers of the periods haven't really gone their way, if we're being honest. It's when they conceded turnovers and also late tries against the run of play. Impeccable timing, 1:05 on the clock. And with the Danes pressing high, Germany go over the top. Jørgensen arrives, but Wilke receives the return. And he targets 55 and a half. That'll do. That means that Denmark have 40 seconds of their possession. So barring any use of timeouts to manipulate the clock, that should leave a minimum of 15 seconds for Germany to try and get the last try. Germany have got a key defence. They are inviting the Danes, but now they're thinking, right, they're just going to sit on this ball and use a timeout, so we've got to go to them. And they do so really well here. They could go back over to a backcourt violation, but instead Jørgensen arrives. It's sky-hooked into the lap of the captain, who needs to bounce or pass it. Timeout called. So what Denmark did there is they deliberately held on to the ball, watched the clock tick down as close as they could, and then they called the timeout. When you call the timeout, your own personal possession clock gets reset to 15 seconds. And as you can see now, there is only 15.9 seconds remaining of the period. So it really is in the destiny of Denmark as to when they score. They want to leave as few seconds as possible for Germany to go up the other end. Helmholtz leaves 5.3. Germany go long. Lovely ball, batted on. Oh, the bounce just defeats the reaching arm of Bruckner. Denmark are happy to just claim it. They don't try and rub salt into the wounds. Lovely bit of tactical jousting from both sides there late in the period. But at the end of it all, it is Denmark 45, Germany 39 in the 7th-8th playoff. That's how the stats are shaping up. Look at the steals from Denmark. They have been greedy in their designs to claim German ball, and that's the main factor as to why they're leading. Beautiful family moment for the Regiers, with Jason's son cheering him on from the stands here in the epicenter of international wheelchair rugby for one more day at Paris 2024. Seventh-eighth playoff of the wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024. Denmark 45, Germany 39. Fourth period incoming. A small delay before the commencement of the fourth period because of some running repairs to the chair of Stefan Wecker of Germany. But we're underway. Denmark in possession with Sebastian Fredriksson, who's been one of their standout performers here in the French capital. Denmark leading 45-39, and soon enough it'll be 46-39 as the German captain is sent to the penalty box for contact with the arm. Peters scores the try. Fredriksson, meanwhile, had blocked off Herbst. And he finds Wilke. They're a nice combination, these two. Wilke is really a young man that Germany can build a team around for years to come. That is a bit heavy-handed from Fredriksson. He shakes his head in disagreement, but still can't believe it, can he? I'm afraid. The whistle's the law. He'll be marked out of the game now whilst Germany score their try. That is Maxi Stolz who had the inbound there. Picked up the sport in 2018 as what he perceived this being the only sport that was available for persons with high disability. It is a sport for those with quadriplegia. There is a spectrum of the functionality which we've touched upon in terms of the classifications of the players. And it's kind of unique as well in the way that there aren't classifications separating the athletes within the sport. So while you might get lots of different classifications in the athletics and you have them all racing against each other or competing on the field, it's all blended into one in wheelchair rugby. So too men and women There are more women competing here in Paris at wheelchair rugby than ever before. 13 to be precise. And we got one of them on court at the moment, Sophia Schuber. Germany have called a timeout there because they weren't going to make it across the centre line within 12 seconds. So they didn't want to concede possession. Sophia Schuber, who is out there, is one of the many members from Aarhus Burnouts. She's from a sporting family with her older brother Morten, who she's a big inspiration, her hero, her big brother. Capped 6 times for Denmark at football internationally, 1 goal. And she has her teacher to thank for getting her into wheelchair rugby. She didn't think that it was going to be for her, Sophia Schuber, and she resisted for a very long time, but a persistent teacher kept nagging at her, and lo and behold, she got stuck in and she loved it. Now she is at the Paralympics for the 2nd time, the 30-year-old. You would hope there are a few more to come for her, although Europe is getting increasingly competitive as the sport catches on around the world. Timeout this time for Denmark and Peters. They've got plenty to play with. They've got a coach's one as well as 2 remaining player ones. Regier, one of the last USA men to win a gold medal. Is that going to change here in Paris? USA harbouring dreams of ending that drought. Germany finding their passes, finding their groove. Oh, Peters is so uncompromising. He looks the absolutely total Wilka, but credits to the 23-year-old who wore it lightly, didn't he? Peters is away. And Peters is scoring. Denmark up to 49. Their lead is 7 tries in the 4th period. Herbst one-on-one with Fredriksson. Oh, almost gets deflected across the paint there, but manages to salvage the situation. Wilka runs a nice blocking line for him, and Herbst then finds Peters, and Peters swipes hard, disrupts. Possession will still be with Denmark. Changes are coming here. For Denmark, Thomas Pett, Jens Zarbria wearing 12, and we also have Christian Bach Eriksson wearing 9. Mikkel Skottel is wearing 12 for Denmark, I beg your pardon. Germany receiving some intense and heated instructions from Christoph Werner. High ceiling for the young Wilke, who cites Tony Cruz as one of his sporting heroes. He will wish to have as long and illustrious international career as the fated German midfielder in football. Ooh, Herbst has his pass intercepted and interjected. No way through, 3 seconds on the shot clock. Fredriksson swatting the ball away. Now, he didn't have a full possession there, so the shot clock isn't reset. Claimed. Oh, it was a brilliant ball, but it just came too late for Wilke to reverse across the line. So Germany are timed out. In possession, turnover to the Danes, and Christian Bach-Eriksson has the inbound. And Chateau is surrounded by German chairs. Timeout called under the heated pressure of Wilke and Herbst. And Bach-Eriksson reloads himself for the inbounds. Picks out the same man in Chateau. Fredriksson is on hand. Herbst fighting to try and get his hands on that ball. 3 German jerseys surrounding Fredriksson, who's composed in his dribble. Bach-Eriksson won't get there. Herbst will. Shifted on, but Wilke won't reach it because Chateau has done so well to snarl him up. Fredriksson back on the ball. Full shot clock for the Danes after the exchange of possession. Bach-Eriksson helps himself to a try in Paris. The Copenhagen native who plays for the Frederiksberg Falcons in across the line. Denmark 50, Germany 43. Just shy of 4 minutes remaining of both these nations' Paralympics. Changes incoming. Masha Mosel, who scored in their last outing, Germany, and she's well received, the 21-year-old. Who plays for Akima Heroes. She's partnered as well by Zauer Bria. Wending his way through, colliding with his fellow number 12, Chateau. Lovely ball over the top. Mosel's in for a try. A popular one for the 2.5. Tried all sports, Masha Mosel. Rowing, archery, football, wheelchair, basketball, you name it. But she has very much settled for wheelchair rugby now as her sporting weapon of choice. Unable to have an effect there, but her pass does find Zauer on this occasion. Vecke swings back. Wilke. Well, it all gets a little bit congested, and a couple of fender benders for nearly every chair out there involved, apart from Vecke, who works himself free. Doesn't have to go through the gears to finish it. Bach-Eriksson. Fredriksson, silky, slicing and scoring. This is all going to be valuable experience for the nation of Germany in, hopefully, as far as they're concerned, Paralympic Games to come. Wilke, 23 years old, making a statement on the global stage. Masha Mosel, 21 years old, out there wearing 24. These are all players for the future for Germany who are back dining at the top table of global wheelchair rugby for the first time since Beijing in 2008. Whilst for Denmark and Eriksson, it is more miles on the Paralympic clock for them. This is more top-line experience as they look to break into the top 6 of the world. It's looking like it's going to be another 7th place finish, just as they did in Tokyo. Whilst Germany have plenty to be proud of from their performances here in the Champ de Mars. Fredriksson, rapid down to the last seconds. Mosel can't pick out Wilke because he's locked off, double banked by Eriksson and Scotto. Becker is now on it, back to Sauerbruyer. Reverses into Eriksson, has Scotto for company too. Arms piling in, is it going to be held? Replacements onto the court. Volter for Germany and Justus Heinrich. Another man, another young man, 25 years old on Paralympic debut in Paris. Plays alongside Mosel at the Akima Heroes. And so too, like many of the athletes out there, committing his work life to rehabilitation and the inspiration of others to try and take up sport, particularly wheelchair rugby. Wilke needs to keep an eye on the clock, he's running out of time. The try is good for Justus Heinrich. Eriksson goes straight out from the inbound, so the ball will be transitioned all the way back up into the Danish half. And this will be the final throws of Paris 2024 for both Germany and Denmark. Becker looking to skirt around the outside. No, there is a timeout left for Denmark. Will they use it to get to Germany? I beg your pardon. None for Germany, one for Denmark. Germany will have to score on this effort. And they do so through their main man, Josko Wilke. Eriksson over the top. The Champ de Mars rise for their stars. Another try. And one last chance for Germany to strike. Seconds remaining. Volter over the top. Becker claims it, but there'll be no more time for any more tries. Denmark rejoice for their first victory of Paris 2024. They claim 7th position, and they end their wheelchair rugby campaign on a high. Germany lead the call, and Paris with their heads held high, but they finish 8th with the final score, Denmark 56, Germany 49 in the 7th-8th playoff of the wheelchair rugby. Proud faces and some wonderful support as well throughout the entirety of the campaign. Denmark may leave with a shred of disappointment, thinking how close they came to some big wins in the group stage that may have seen them progress to the semi-finals. They are close, they are very, very close. And you just wonder what the next 4-year cycle may bring for them. They matched their Paralympic efforts in Tokyo with a 7th position. You see it on the shoulder of Fredriksson. That was the first time they ever made it to a Paralympics. They're now back-to-back Paralympians. And they have delighted those who followed them to the French capital. Germany are back in the big time for the first time in 16 years. And they are leaving with a huge amount of experience, a huge amount of respect, and no small amount of future stars to build a program upon. The likes of Josko Vilka, Masha Mosel, and Justus Henrik scoring late in that match and just giving us a taste of what may come. That's how it shaped up on a statistical level. The steals from Denmark, 8-3. Pivotal in the outcome of the match. Turnovers, there were 3 against Germany to the 1 of Denmark. Discipline was pretty similar out there with just 8 penalties to 6. But the headline score is it's a Danish victory, and Denmark claims 7th in the wheelchair rugby. Germany finish the competition in 8th.
Mesdames et messieurs, du bruit pour la team Danemark!
Wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024 is coming to a conclusion on day 5 of the Games. Denmark have claimed 7th position with victory over their European counterparts, Germany, as the action continues to thrill all of us here at the Champ de Mars.
It seems that you are maybe a member of family of one player of the team in Denmark. Yes, that's it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that is correct. My brother is co-member.
Number five on Team Denmark. Last question. How is Paris? How was Paris? How is Paris during the Paralympics? During maybe Olympic, I don't know, but how was Paris?
We've been to Paris before, and I would say that Paris is always special, but it's something extra special during the Paralympics also. Yeah, definitely.
Il dit tout simplement, mesdames et messieurs, qu'il a passé un super moment à Paris parce que c'est vraiment spécial de venir à Paris à l'occasion des Jeux Paralympiques. C'est un petit peu différent avec une atmosphère un petit peu plus sympathique. Thank you very much. And congratulations, all Danish fans! Allez, mesdames et messieurs, vous le savez maintenant, dans une grosse vingtaine de minutes, le match pour la médaille de bronze de ces Jeux de Paris, Paralympique de Paris 2024. Est-ce que vous êtes prêts à tout simplement apporter une énergie folle, que ce soit l'équipe d'Australie ou l'équipe de Grande-Bretagne? Là, vous êtes en train de faire la sieste, c'est après le repas et compagnie. Est-ce que vous êtes prêts, mesdames et messieurs, à envoyer un max d'énergie à ces deux équipes? Ok, c'est la médaille de bronze, c'est la petite finale, mesdames et messieurs. Il y a une magnifique Roland qui va aller chercher dans quelques instants. Anthems fans for Australia. Ok, est-ce qu'il y a du monde qui soutient l'équipe d'Australie? Anthems fans for
ceux qui ne sont pas partis faire une petite pause déj, on tape dans les mains, tape, tape, tape. Merci d'accueillir l'équipe de l'Australie. Et ils sont également présents dans la chambre d'appel. Mesdames et messieurs, s'il vous plaît, un tonnerre d'applaudissements pour la Grande-Bretagne. Pour tous ceux qui sont arrivés un petit peu, comme on dit chez moi, à la bourre ce matin pour le premier match et qui donc a loupé la petite vidéo explicative avec toutes les règles, ne vous inquiétez pas, session de rattrapage avec l'Alliance sur l'écran géant dès maintenant une vidéo explicative en français puis en anglais des règles du rugby fauteuil.
We're looking to make wheelchair rugby as accessible as possible for new fans. If you just come into the arena or you want to know a little bit more about how wheelchair rugby works, on screen now are Alliance explainer videos in French and then English to help you through the next couple of hours.
Chateau,
continuer pour aller chercher cette médaille de bronze. Ils vont avoir un nom tout au long de ce match. D'abord, l'équipe de l'Australie qui est actuellement numéro 1 dans le team mondial. Ils ont malheureusement perdu leur demi-finale contre le Japon hier. Ils ont terminé déjà 4e lors des derniers Jeux Paralympiques avec le groupe. Donc, ils ont à cœur de faire mieux et de repartir cette année pour cette Olympiade avec une médaille autour du cou. Gardez un œil très attentif sur le numéro 3, Riley Bat, 125 essais inscrits dans ce tournoi. C'est tout simplement le meilleur marqueur.
So this is a repeat by one of the only matches to talk about these two men in the ball stages, which go for 1-1-3 with Australia, the current world champions, the gold medalists in 2012 and 2016, finished just out of the middle in 4th place in Tokyo last time around. In Riley Bats, you can see his numbers on screen right now. The man who won his first Paralympic medal back in Beijing 2008 for Australia. With Chris Bond, they both won a gold in 2012 as well. And coached by Brad Dublin, who himself won a silver medal in Sydney 2000 on our home soil as well. So Australia have the experience to know what it takes to win Paralympic medals.
Et en face, vous voyez aussi sur l'écran les images en ce moment même. C'est l'équipe de la Grande-Bretagne, entraînée par Paul Chateau. Ils sont numéro 4 mondiaux et surtout champions paralympiques en titre. Donc forcément, ils ont un petit peu de rancœur cet après-midi. Ils ont envie de revenir avec une médaille. Elle sera forcément bien de cette Jeux Paralympiques de Tokyo. Ils vont encore aller chercher cette médaille qui ont en plus perdu en finale des championnats d'Europe il y a quelques mois contre notre équipe de France. Ils ont perdu hier lors de la finale assez largement contre la team USA. Réalisé sur ce que vous voyez en ce moment sur l'écran géant qui s'appelle Stuart Robinson. C'est tout simplement le meilleur marqueur de cette équipe de Grande-Bretagne. 79 essais inscrits, c'est le 5e meilleur marqueur du tournoi et il est également dans le top 10 des meilleurs intercepteurs. On va pas trop dire comme ça ce week-end. Il a plus d'intercepteurs, 6 interceptions. Vous allez voir que c'est important dans un match.
Well, that's numbers on screen. I love an extra Robinson, who was part of course of the Great Britain team that won the gold medal in Tokyo in 2020. Another one of the high point players key to Great Britain. He's got 6 steals so far in the tournament toward the top end of the statistics in Great Britain. After being beaten yesterday by the United States in the evening game last night, find themselves in this bronze medal playoff this time around, looking to repeat that success against Australia in their opening full match of the tournament.
Allez, mesdames et messieurs, en attendant le début de cette rencontre, la nouvelle rencontre sur le terrain, mesdames et messieurs, on est parti pour une dance cam. Let's go for a dance cam. Watch out on the change.
Ça c'est bien, les potes là, en cadence, ensemble, vous êtes bien les gars, vous êtes très très bien. Active tour sur la dance cam, on peut voir autant d'énergie. Et maintenant, c'est le match pour la médaille de bronze. Ozzy, you are on the screen. Ok la team France. Ça bouge avec Fige. À ce volet, ça va rester iconique, hein, je vous le dis. Allez, danse, 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 danse.
Welcome to the Champ de Mars Arena, nestled in the heart of the 7th arrondissement of France's capital city. It is Paris 2024 on the final day of competition for the wheelchair rugby. A bronze medal is about to be awarded to either Australia or Great Britain, who fell at the semi-final stage. Australia and Great Britain both great history in the competition. In fact, the last two nations to win gold at the Paralympics, and Kristen Hempfling and Kevin Bowie of Germany and Canada respectively will oversee proceedings for a hotly anticipated medal match. Well, this is how the draw has come to pass. Japan and United States of America proving too strong for Australia and Great Britain. Great Britain, the reigning Paralympic champions from Tokyo. Australia, the nation who claimed the two previously at London and Rio. Two sides oozing with class and oozing with determination to end their Paris jaunts with medals round their necks. Here come Australia, led by captain Chris Bond. The Steelers, as Australia's wheelchair rugby side are known, have some legendary names in amongst them, none more so than Riley Batt at his 6th Paralympics, 20 years since he debuted age 15 at Athens. This will be his last, and Brad Duberly is their coach to see them through to what they hope will be a medal. It's been a mixed bag, and they've already faced Great Britain and come second. Gav Walker, who leads out Great Britain, will hope that recent history can repeat itself and Great Britain can console themselves with bronze, having missed out on the opportunity to defend their gold in the final.
Number 8, Nick Cummins. Number 9, Ollie Mannion. Number 10, Tyler Walker. Number 11, Kieran Flynn. Number 12, Jamie Stett. Number 13, Aaron Phipps. And number 14, Daniel Kellett.
Great Britain are out and they won't be retaining their gold medal, but a bronze beckons for them should they overcome Australia as they did in the group stage. Aaron Phipps and Stu Robinson are their high pointers. They'll be scoring the tries, and Paul Shaw will be looking to lead Britain to just their 2nd ever Paralympic medal, backing up that gold in Tokyo. It all went a little bit wrong against the USA in the semi-final yesterday, having sailed through the group unblemished.
Et maintenant, si vous le pouvez, merci de rester debout pour l'hymne national de la Grande-Bretagne.
Please remain standing for the national anthem of Great Britain.
Redemption beckons with bronze for either Australia or Great Britain at the wheelchair rugby at Paris 2024. My name is Joe Burns and I'm delighted to be joined alongside for this medal match by Drew Lilly.
It's going to be a huge match and hopefully not a case of after the Lord Mayor's show who is going to get over the disappointment of losing in the semi-finals, the better of the two. Great Britain just had a bit of a shocker. They really didn't turn up against the United States. Australia had it in their hands against Japan. They were 15 seconds away from making it to the final, so they're going to be the more disappointed of the two because they were that close. As Brad Dubley managed to turn things around mentally for them. They're starting with their high-low lineup. Great Britain doing exactly the same. So Great Britain, Stu Robinson and Aaron Phipps, along with Jack Smith and Johnny Coggan. 3-5, 3-5, 0.5, 0.5. There's Tez, Paul Shaw, the coach, MBE, the winning coach from 3 years ago. And then Australia also starting with their 3-5, 3-5, 0.5, 0.5. Chris Bond and Riley Batt, the high pointers, and their personal low pointers, you could almost call them Bo Vernon and James McQuillan.
Final tactical instructions and rousing of the passions. Not that there will be much required. These are two of the dominant nations in the world, and as you touched upon, it's going to be a case of psychologically putting the semi-finals behind them and rallying for what is ultimately a match that will end in a medal.
Yeah, GB just really didn't turn up on the day, and they found themselves 6 adrift very early on. They burnt a lot of timeouts, made bad decisions. They just had a bad day. They'll be hoping to turn it around here. Clean slate.
The bronze medal match of Paris 2024 in the wheelchair rugby is underway between GB and Australia in green and gold, and scoring first.
Yeah, the match starts with a tip-off, and then after that, possession alternates at the start of the second, third and fourth periods. So it should well be that Great Britain get the inbound at the start of the second period.
GB respond. Two sides playing identical strategies as touched upon in the build-up. The Phipps and Robinson, both 3.5 classification players. The classification denotes the level of functionality in a player based on their impairments. The higher the number, the higher the functionality, 3.5 being the most functional. And one of those is Riley Batt, who's partnered by Chris Bond. So we've got 4 very mobile, very try-thirsty players out there across the two sides. Now, Jack Smith isn't all that accustomed to scoring, but he has been in the tries in Paris. As a 0.5 classification player, he's usually doing the nitty-gritty, defending, snarling up chairs, but he's getting in for an early score again.
Depends how the opposition defend. So when teams are trying to defend Robinson and Phipps, maybe their own high pointers come up there and try to block them from receiving the inbound. And one tactic that Paul Shaw uses is to have either Smith or Coggan a long way free up at the end, and because even though they're low pointers, they are very good at corralling the ball, positioning their chair well to receive the ball, so they can be used as outlets.
Bo Vernon finds his captain, who's well marked by Phipps and Coggan. The bat arrives to lend his support, just that weave of the chair. He is an absolute master of manoeuvring his way up to the try line, Riley Batt.
Two sides with similar lineups at the moment and neutralizing one another. It'll be interesting to see when substitutions are made and who comes on. And almost had the first turnover there. Coggan couldn't quite get hold of the inbound. He's adjudged to have come off Chris Bond. So no turnover. Doesn't reset the shot clock, and it's also an awkward corner inbound, but Smith's got it to Phipps. Phipps gets it over the halfway line within the allotted 12 seconds. Sigh of relief.
Sigh of relief for GB. Interesting position psychologically both these sides find themselves in, as GB employ a key defence where they invite the Australians onto them. That GB, they've only ever won one medal in the sport, and that was gold. So to claim a bronze here is still historic for Great Britain. And while a lot of this Australian side were accustomed to winning goals, being the best in the world for a 6 to 8 year period, they finished 4th in Tokyo. And while they'll be gutted to not be facing off in the final, as the turnover comes from Australia into the grasp of Bo Vernon, this bronze medal is important to them. They didn't get one in Tokyo. They want to leave with a bit of metal.
Right, so a turnover caused there. Phipps loses the ball. Vernon manages to pick it up, and he then had to call a timeout immediately because he was very close to the halfway line. He was in the attacking half, and had he gone back over into his defending half, it would have been a backcourt violation. So he took a timeout, but a turnover has been caused, and Australia, because it was a dead ball, they've chosen to make a couple of substitutions. They've taken off Bond, and they're going with a more balanced lineup. So Bond and McQuillan have gone off, the high and the low pointers, and we've got two mid pointers there, Andrew Edmondson and Ella Sabeljack. They're trying to box Edmondson in and push him towards the sideline, and he manages to get out. Great patience from Andrew Edmondson, and that's the break, as it were, for Australia. 2 points clear.
It was handy work from Sabeljack here. You just see her fly across the screen there as Johnny Coggan was coming along to lay an intervention on Riley Batt. The Gold Coast girl doing a little bit of the subtle unseen work there to allow Batt to score.
So an early substitution from Australia. It's what they did against Japan. It's what worked so well for them. They kept changing lineups, so Japan didn't know who they were marking, who their assignment was. Reaching foul. I think it's Aaron Phipps who is going to have to go to the bin. There he goes. I think Riley Batt milks that a little bit there.
Some ringcraft, I think they call that.
So yes, another substitution. So every time, this is what Brad Doodley did very well yesterday. Didn't quite work against Japan, but it was 15 seconds away from working. Immediate substitutions all the time. So Ella Sabeljack was on for a set play and has gone off, been replaced by Josh Nicholson, and Tez Shaw has tried to match that. He's brought on a more balanced lineup as well, with Cummins and Stead out there.
Well, interesting to see Stu Robinson taken off as well, because he only left the court for the first time in the entirety of the Paralympics in the latter stages against the USA in their semi-final defeat, and it came at a stage when him being replaced was almost an admission that the game was gone, actually, bringing on young Tyler Walker. So it's really rare to see Stu Robinson's chair off the court, and maybe that's a factor of Phipps being in the penalty box.
Exactly, it was Phipps being in the penalty box, so a coach's timeout has now been called by Paul Shaw there, so that will enable substitutions to be made again. So I think it was purely to defend that particular situation, and Robinson's going to come back out, so he's only going to have been off for 5 or 10 seconds, but I think we are going to see a lot of substitutions where each coach tries to keep the other one guessing all the way through. So we are back with the original lineups, the two 3-5, 3-5, 0.5, 0.5. Robinson and Phipps going up against Batt and Bond. Coggan and Smith, the low pointers, McQuillan and Vernon for Australia.
Vernon seeks out his captain, who links with Batt. And you see that McQuillan and Vernon looking to have an impact on Phipps's progress, and they do just about enough there for Riley Batt. There's a shot of young Braden Foxley-Connolly, 20-year-old in his first major tournament, who's graduated from the under-23s to be at the big show.
They've got a big development squad, have Australia. Foxley-Connolly's here in case one of the two big guns, Batt and Bond, went down injured. Also to learn from them, to learn from a big tournament, and he is going to be having to step up very soon and take on the Riley Batt mantle.
Well, I love that ball manipulation there from Robinson, switching it to one hand and then arcing back and wrapping it round the corner into Phipps. Very dexterous stuff. Batt picks out Bonds. How many times have those guys done that?
Clever play from Bond there. He knew that Phipps was alongside him. Phipps incredibly fast. He's got a great push. And Bond decided to drop the shoulder, duck in towards the left. Knew that he wouldn't win a direct wheel race between the two of them. Ball almost comes clear again. Brad Doodley applauding that. It wasn't a turnover, but it's sowing seeds of doubt in the minds of the likes of Phipps. He's already committed a turnover.
Similar shades to the feeling around the semi-final with GB at the moment. They're really having to graft in attack, and it means that a lot of their focus, a lot of their energy is sat in trying to score. That is ridiculous. The no-look on the spin over the head ball, right into the grip of his captain. Few tricks being pulled out of the bag in Riley Batt's Paralympic swan song.
They've played together around 240 times over the past 15 years or so, so they do know, they pretty much know where the other one's going to be at all times.
Yeah, that's not in a training manual anywhere though, is it?
It's on the highlight reels, that one.
Yeah, as I was saying though, in terms of the amount of work for GB to score, it means that they don't focus as much on the defence, and it's sort of a compounding factor.
Now there we had Smith as the outlet, but Bond was wise to it. Smith hasn't really got the function to pass it, so he manages to hand it off to Phipps, which is exactly what he should do. That was the right move there. Time running out, 10 seconds on the shot clock.
Robinson finds a way through down the right flank. Coggan had worked hard to snare some wheels. And off goes Bond. He's putting an energetic shift in this opening period that's just slipped past the 2 minutes remaining mark. So it is time for a bit of time jousting. The teams will look to manipulate the clock for the next couple of minutes so that they might be the last team to score at the end of the period.
Australia put up 1:40 as the time that they wanted to score, and that's exactly what they've done. Signs were going up saying key defense for Team GB.
So keep your eyes peeled on the benches behind. You'll see various signs and symbols being put up, and GB Adventure, the instruction is to try and score on 105, which is a bit of a regulation marker. Stu Robinson doesn't score, but Riley Batt departs the court prematurely, so 110, and the try is not awarded. It's going to be an inbound from the side because it wasn't a foregone conclusion that it was going to be a score. So Australia, as you all see, Riley Batt is going to go off to the penalty box. He's down there, bottom of the screen. So GB have 3 to play against. They've also got 40 seconds of the possession clock now, so they might change the time that they're targeting, potentially 55 seconds, I'd say. And that should, in theory, leave a minimum of 15 seconds for them to score if Australia do so in 40. 50.2.
11:10, and a coach's timeout is called by Brad Dubley, and that gets Riley Batt out of the sin bin. He was coming out of the sin bin anyway, but one of the Team GB players would have been sitting in front of that sin bin to oblige Riley Batt to put up his hand and say, I will take the inbound. And you don't want a high pointer inbounding, because by definition they are off the court, and they could, so if Riley Batt is off the court, he's only got 5 points, 4.5 points to aim at. 3.5 in Chris Bond, and then 0.5 in Vernon and McQuillan. So Vernon with the inbound, and then Bond to Batt.
Strong contact from Phipps. Looking to throw their weight around a little bit more, GB. It was an element of the game that they came off second best yesterday against Australia. Riley Batt has his pocket picked by Johnny Coggan and co. Phipps wheels away because GB have possession, and there is only 22 seconds on the clock. They will try and use every single second before scoring to deny Australia the opportunity of a last period point. Batt, Phipps, Bond and Robinson all engaged. Foul comes in to lead to a penalty try. 7 seconds remaining.
That was cleverly done by Australia because they knew that time was of the essence, so they conceded a penalty try. Can Bond get over with seconds to go? And the answer is not quite. So at the end of the first period, we're back to dead level.
Determined defence from Phipps out there on the edge. It forced a wonder pass from Batt that did find Bond, but then Coggan arrived. Well, it was Robinson, I beg your pardon, but Coggan was locking up the other Australian man in the key. So as you say, we are at 11s here with 1 period played in the bronze medal match between Australia and Great Britain. A turnover apiece in that opening stanza of the bronze medal match, I beg your pardon. And, well, it's sort of demonstrated there in terms of the steals. 1 apiece for both sides, and the turnover there right at the end there against Australia. So their steal from previously being negated, and 11 all.
I'd say it's advantage Team GB at the moment. They have got the next contested possession, so they will have the inbound at the start of the second quarter. And as things stand, they will also have the inbound at the start of the fourth quarter. So that's 2-1 to them. They've also got all 4 of their floor timeouts as opposed to 3. So these little things, I think the most important thing, though, is that Australia made all the running. They were ahead for the entire first quarter, and yet came away more or less empty-handed. So GB picked their pocket there.
Well, it's shades of the semi-final, though, again, against the United States of America, where GB headed into the first period break, trailing by just the one try. It was 12-11 to the United States before an early second period implosion from GB left them chasing and far too far to go.
That implosion happened when they decided to go for a more balanced lineup, and their mid-pointers ended up burning 3 timeouts on one play and didn't even get a point out of it, and that really took the wind out of their sails. So that was the mental problem for Team GB to get over. Australia's mental problem seems to be time management, the last minute of quarters, the last minute of a match. It bit them on the backside in the semi-final when they were 15 seconds away from making the final, and it's come back to haunt them again at the end of the first quarter. Both teams sticking with the high-low lineups as we go into the second quarter.
Second period of the bronze medal match at Paris 2024 in the wheelchair rugby is up and away with a fine inbound from GB's Jack Smith, who finds Stu Robinson, and his try hands GB the lead.
Their first lead of the contest, and GB there being told to get back in the key defence, being told by Adam Scaturo, former American legend who is now on the bench for Team GB, and at some point you would think he's going to step up and take on the head coaching reins. He seems to be taking on a lot of the responsibility here already.
GB hassling and harrying the Aussies, including Riley Batt. There's no way through for him at the moment, and time is running out. Coggan arriving, and it was almost perfect timing. And with just seconds remaining, Batt makes it home. High press from Australia. Phipps mobile enough to escape the attentions. Bond arrives and he has a little wiggle. Sends Batt the wrong way. And it's a nice score for Phipps.
It was Phipps and Smith doing the work there. Robinson was tied up, but having a low pointer, getting in there and setting a pick and a block, that meant that Phipps had a path through. Very cleverly done there.
Well, GB are doing an excellent job of making life very difficult for Riley Batt. Smith, the next to get into his path. He could find a route round the edge. And there's been a timeout called, I think, there by Australia. Testament to the pressure that GB have put on there. It's been a really good start to the second period for them.
That's 2 floor timeouts used by Australia. Riley Batt taking that one there, deciding that there was no way that he was going to be able to score. Clever play from Johnny Coggan. He got out of there. He made sure he wasn't pushed into the key. You can't have 4 defenders in the key, in the painted area. And it can be easy for a high pointer to bash an opposition low pointer into the key and make it 4 in the key. So he cleverly made sure he stayed out of it. Now, a corner inbound from Australia, never easy. A give and go between Bond and Vernon. And taking the timeout pays off.
GB looking to strike fast. And that will do the confidence the world of good as well. And it's really firmly ball back in the Australians' court, because they're now being asked to respond, and it looks like Chris Bond is going to do so all alone.
He started his push a little bit earlier than Aaron Phipps and managed to outpace him. This is the last match of the tournament for both of these teams, and you can imagine the 4 high pointers who are out there have said to their respective coaches, this is it, we want to leave it all out there. Don't you dare take us off. We don't want to be substituted.
Robinson finds a path through. Trading tries right now, 10 for Stu Robinson, who careers in to Riley Bat. He's going to look for some help. Oh, almost dislodged by the arm of Robinson. How much time is there to get it across the halfway line? Plenty. And Bo Vernon, how smart of him to get in position, knowing what was unfolding in the backcourt.
You need to position your chair perfectly for that. He's a 0.5 pointer, the lowest classification you can have. He's not flexible enough to wheel around, so it had to be a perfect pass, and his chair position had to be perfect, and it was.
Phipps. Bit of braking from Chris Bond out there.
Para-braking.
Para-braking from Bondy.
He's obviously been watching Rachel Gunn, the now legendary Australian breaker.
Phipps looks down one avenue, doesn't like what he sees, and he finds open roads all the way to the try line.
Open road because Chris Bond was tied up by Jack Smith. So 0.5 points was tying up 3.5 points. That's how the maths works. If you can have a low pointer tying up a high pointer, or even in any kind of disparity there, if you can get the maths to work in your favor, then that's the way you're going to score tries.
Key defense being employed here from GB, who ask Australia to break them down again. They've had a lot of success with this, but this time Riley Bat simply bullies his way through the challenges. Not a huge amount of grace and subtlety to that, but certainly effective.
Johnny Coggan there getting involved and doing just enough to slow Chris Bond down and enable the pass to be made between GB's 2 high pointers.
It's a lot more confrontational from GB than it was against the United States in the semi-final. And also, their shots are sticking as well. Both Robinson and Phipps found themselves on their back after collisions with Sarah Adam, who was quite brilliant for the USA in that semi-final. But they seem to be getting better, the better of the collisions out here so far against Australia.
Well, GB are a very good team. GB are in the top 4 in the world. They're defending champions. They're not going to be able to defend their title here, obviously. They're a very good team, had a very bad day at the office just for the space of 1 quarter in the semi-finals.
So they just need a quarter of a quarter.
Indeed, indeed. It was barely half a quarter. It was just a 2 or 3 minute period where it all went wrong for them. So they just need to get that out of their minds and try to reduce the errors, and then that's what happens when you're playing Australia.
The pass was exquisite. It travelled through a forest of arms, and I think that acted as sufficient distraction for Phipps to not be able to take the ball. They've got a real break there, though, because it's ricocheted off an Aussie chair, so they haven't lost the possession. That could have been terminal.
It looked to me as if it had come off Phipps's chair, but it obviously rolled down Vernon's. So a corner inbound with 3 seconds to go. It doesn't reset the shot clock. Very cleverly get it into the hands of Stu Robinson. He called a timeout, and so they've now got 15 seconds in which to score as soon as Robinson picks up the ball from now.
They've got a few to play with as well. That's their first of the match that they've used as players on court, and Stu Robinson isn't going to hang around. He makes absolutely sure and goes route one.
That's perfection. That is what you do. You've got 3 seconds to go. Take a timeout, reset the shot clock, reset yourselves, score, job done. Textbook stuff.
Well, he makes it look easy there, Robinson. But conversely, if you look at Riley Batt, the difficulties that he's having at the other end, trying to penetrate that key defence from GB. It's a funny old game. When it's going for you, it's going for you. But it really is a momentum and confidence-based sport. I say this, Batt's going to go the length, isn't he? Well, as good as. Gets the assist to his captain.
The advantage of having 2 high pointers out there, which is what we've got in both teams, is that you've always got one who can throw the ball the length of the court and another who can corral any pass, race onto the end of it with the acceleration, the push that you need. 3 in the key for the Aussies, and McQuillan outside.
Core slam shot. Jack Smith free, reverses back across the line.
He's a great outlet as a 0.5 pointer. They do that so well, that key attack team GB, when one of the low pointers, usually Jack Smith, finds a little bit of space in the key. A reaching foul. And Phipps is sent off to the bin.
So Phipps has to spend 60 seconds there or until the opposition score. More often than not, it'll be when the opposition score, and because of the ball being dead, it means that Australia can make a few changes. So we've got Andrew Edmondson on the ball there, wearing 14, third Paralympics for him. A 2 classification player, and he's also joined by Josh Nicholson as well.
So going for a more balanced lineup, and that's what Australia like to do. They've been doing it the last couple of matches. Quick. Well, how about that? A turnover, a steal when you're 3 on 4. That defies belief, that really does.
Goodness me, and the temerity to sell a dummy. Coggan claims it. Smith alongside. He needs some help from Stu Robinson, but Riley Batt was waiting. He was waiting, ready to pounce. It was really smart stuff, and the Aussies have the inbound.
The Aussies have the inbound. Robinson lost it, and Batt, rather than trying to pick it up and risking touching it and it going out of play, just got in the way of Robinson's chair. So that's another 40 seconds if Australia can hold on to it. Reminder that Phipps is still in the bin. Well, everybody catch your breath, and that's what Riley Batt is letting us do. They're going to set a pick on Phipps coming out of the bin. Batt and Edmondson know one another very well from New South Wales, so Coggan hadn't got the strength to pass it. And there we go. Well, I think that says it better than we could do.
Crazy little passage that. No one cherishing the ball. GB managed to navigate the inbound with their high pointer, the one launching it, and he's the one returning as well. So Phipps gets the try.
Now, we're into the last 90 seconds, so score on 52 is the board being held up by assistant coach Sam Allen for Australia.
Now, someone's lost the pressure in their tyres. You can hear that coming through our Atmos mics, and it's Phipps. He gestures to his shoulders to say, "I got a flat, sir. Can we get a mechanic on here?"
So that resets the shot clock for Australia. So that changes the timestamps. It's 52. Well, it's not going to change the timestamp. They're still going to want to score on 52. It just makes it slightly easier to do so.
Riley Batt. The last time we'll get to see the great man on a Paralympic court. By his own admission, he is held together by tape at the moment. Edmondson is New South Wales fellow gladiator.
He had to make sure he wasn't pushed back over the halfway line. That would have been an over and back violation. Bat trying to get past two high pointers and manages to do it, and that's perfection in terms of scoring and the timestamp. It's 21 apiece. Whoever gets the final score here will feel the happier of the two.
Coggan all alone and has Bat arriving. Seismic shot from Bat on Coggan.
Tried to push him over the sideline, but Coggan was having none of it. That was amazing. 0.5 points, managed to withstand the fury of Riley Bat there. Take a bow there, Johnny Coggan.
Robinson to Phipps. They're getting counted down by the bench, by GB, and now they're going to take their time out so that they are in command of this clock at the end of this second period. A chance to head into the break leading by 1. Wow. That was impressive from Coggan.
Again, it's chair positioning. What we said earlier about Bo Vernon, you have to have your chair in the right position, the right angle. And there he had his chair at the right angle to make sure that he wasn't pushed over the sideline. 14 seconds in which to score and take the lead into the second half.
Bo Vernon gets battered about in there in the key. 4 in the key, though, from Australia.
Cleverly done, because that way it's a penalty try and they get the ball back, so they've got 5.2 seconds from now in which to try to score. Can Vernon pick it up? Bo Vernon take a bow. Chair position.
An incredible climax to the first half, and it is just the boost that Bat and the boys need. The Steelers do just that. They steal a try right at the death of the first half. Bo Vernon, the man to go good. And at half-time, there is not a try between them in the bronze medal match. Australia 22, Great Britain 22.
22 apiece. They've got 2 timeouts left each, 1 coach's timeout left. They'll have 1 contested possession each. There is nothing to choose between these two.
Who can claim this bronze medal? Well, they're packed in here, ready to find out. Australia gold medalists at London and Rio.
I'm going to teach you some French now. How do you say can in French?
Peu.
Pouvoir. Le French can.
Well, it feels a shame to be rolling in these highlights when all the action is on court at the moment, but we must not get distracted from the reason that we are truly here. This is to settle a bronze medal at Paris 2024. In the wheelchair rugby, a sport that is excited and enthralled in equal measure across the opening 5 days of this Paralympic Games, and it's been nip and tuck between 2 high-low strategies. Chris Bond, Aaron Phipps, Riley Bat and Stu Robinson all heavily among the tries. A bit of para breaking from the Aussie captain Bond. But neither side loosening their grip on this medal just yet.
It's been an incredible bronze medal match. There's nothing to choose between them. The statistics, if you add them all up, take away the steals from the turnovers, it all balances out. One team is going to be over the moon in about half an hour's time, the other one absolutely distraught. Which one it's going to be, we'll find out in 5 minutes' time.
l'image de la médaille de bronze. Parfait. Et alors, on n'est pas à l'école? Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Alors, si on n'est pas à l'école, on donne tout ce qu'on a, les jeunes. C'est parti, sautez, bougez. Ah, comme ça. Come on, TV. Okay, all the family is here. Move, move. Ok, on les a retrouvés, ils ont répété la choré, c'est pas mal les gars. Allez, la rédaction marche, je vois tout le monde debout. Debout, debout. Quand Céline Dion chante, tout le monde bouge. Montrez aux supporters australiens, aux supporters de Grande-Bretagne comment on fait la fête chez nous en France. La tribune de gauche, debout, debout, debout. Allez, je vois tout le monde. La tribune du cinéma gauche, debout, 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 debout. Allez. C'est pas mal. Allez, faites-moi sortir la Céline Dion, le Jean-Jacques Goldman qui est en vous, les gars. Ça donne quoi? Pas mal. Allez, tous ensemble. Allez, tous ensemble, on tape dans les mains maintenant. C'est pas fini la rédaction marche, hein?
It's a party at the Champ de Mars. But there will only be one nation celebrating come the conclusion of the next two periods of this bronze medal match. Go Aussie is the call from that finger, but it is GB raising their arm saying we want this bronze just as bad. There is not a try between them. Australia 22, GB 22.
Australia having made some changes here, so they're going with a more midpoint lineup. Andrew Edmondson and Ella Sabeljack have come back on, so they can play 3-5, 2-5, 2, 0.5. That adds up to 8.5, but having Ella on the court means that they can have an extra 0.5.
Pretty easy score there for Riley Batts, who played a key role in setting up Bo Vernon right at the death of that first half. It looks for all money that GB would be heading in with a one-try advantage, but Aussie coast to coast fittingly for the continent and stealing a try right on the buzzer. Spilts, who did it come off?
It's going to be an Australian ball. It was flipped out, I presume by Aaron Phipps.
Oh, I tell you what, he's got lucky there. Let's have a look at where this call goes, because that definitely came off that, didn't it? And Smith is making his way to the sideline for the inbound. Is he? No, it's not.
It's definitely an Australian ball, and they called a timeout because Riley Batt had been hemmed in by Robinson and I think Phipps, so Australia have had to call the timeout to get out of it. They've used the coach's timeout to do that, so that is a clever way of doing it. No floor timeouts used. Just means there are no more coaching timeouts to be used by Brad Doubley if he wants to make substitutions. He can make substitutions when there are other timeouts, when the ball goes dead. But it was a well-used timeout there. And yes, a little bit of luck for Australia there, but dead level.
Mini win, though, for GB there in forcing Australia to have to be creative with their timeouts. Doesn't come as a cost to GB, but certainly whittles away the options for Australia as we get to the latter stages of the match. And you've already identified they've had some difficulty in coordinating themselves in the last 60 seconds or so of the periods, including fatefully against Japan in their semi-final. Edmondson is being consumed by GB defenders here.
He did incredibly well there, Andrew Edmondson. He had to bounce the ball and he had no room in which to do it, and he made some room, and then he ended up drawing a foul from that reacher, Aaron Phipps. That's the third time he's going to the bin. He went for the ball. Edmondson showed him the ball and then gave him some arm. And that enables Australia to make a change. And they've gone back to high-low, 3-5-3-5, 0.5-0.5. Bond and McQuillan come back on.
And they're also up against 3 players as well. So Riley Batt spins on his wheels. Chris Bond goes and blocks off Aaron Phipps. Aaron Phipps nominates himself to take the inbound, and GB have reduced options and classification players out on the court. It's all one domino effect. It's why they call this chess with contact. And you see there, with the reduction in options for Aaron Phipps, he decides, we're not going to risk it, I'm going to use a timeout, and therefore we can reset who will take the inbound.
Absolutely perfectly done there by Australia. They set a trap on Phipps coming out of the sin bin. He couldn't get out, so he had to elect to inbound. That means that 3.5 of your 8 points is off the court inbounding, and he's only got 4.5 to aim at. Coggan and Smith, who are low pointers, and Robinson. So if Australia can tie up Robinson, Australia have obviously got 4 on the court compared with 3. They tied up Robinson and there were no options available for GB. They were forced into a timeout.
Jack Smith looks to cause issues with Riley Batt, and he is shadowing him well. Robinson rides the hit, flips the ball out over the top for Phipps, who swung around on his shoulder. And GB a level. Watchful opening couple of minutes here.
Ever so slight fumble from Riley Batt. He's obviously going to have the wheels to get past Smith, and also McQuillan did a little blocking job on Phipps to make sure that Phipps couldn't get through. It's easy to watch the high pointers who are out there, but it's always good to keep an eye on the low pointers, see what they're doing, what kind of defensive work they're doing. Maybe some mid pointers, the likes of Cummins and Stead, will come on for GB, but it doesn't seem that Paul Shaw and Adam Scaturo are trusting them after what happened in the semi-final. Bond tries to make a path. A reaching foul again. Guess who?
Yes.
No. It's been a penalty try. So,
penalty
yes.
try. So Australia back with this one try advantage. Phipps manages to skid his way home, despite having Bond latched onto him. Oh, so little between these two sides. Could be in for Rager. Could be in for an entertaining fourth period.
Key defence has been working very well for Great Britain. They've made Australia work for every try. They'll be able to get through here because after a while the GB high pointers came forward. So we have a quick look at Emily Miller, who could come on for Australia. She's a low pointer, 0.5, but since she's female, that gives you an extra 0.5, and that would enable Australia to play Jake Howe, a one-pointer, so a low pointer but with a bit more function. May see her a little bit later on.
Bo Vernon has an inbound here to get away. He's got all his crew in green to aim for, and he picks out his captain.
You've got 10 seconds in which to inbound. It doesn't start the clock, but the referees are counting out.
Well, that was a timely arrival from Riley Batt, because Stu Robinson had got in there and spoilt the ball, and had Batt not got there, I think Robinson would have managed to reel that ball in.
So Batt got in his way, doesn't reset the shot clock because Australia were in possession, and in the end it doesn't matter. But that was a good block from Riley Batt, but GB will like that. They are forcing little half mini threats of turnovers. They're sowing seeds of doubt in the minds of the Aussies.
High press from the Aussies, but it doesn't work, and once Phipps gets free, no one catches him. Fastest in the game, Aaron Phipps. And GB are level again at 29 apiece.
They also locked up James McQuillan, so the two low pointers, Smith and Coggan, locked up James McQuillan while this was going on, and they force him to say that he will take the inbound. And he's not quite as good an inbounder as Bo Vernon. Of course, as soon as I say that, he comes out with a great inbound. Well done, Quill. Forced to work once again, and that was a great pass between those two.
GB being asked to go from deep.
Great blocking by Johnny Coggan, took Chris Bond out of the equation. Bond comes back now. GB back off and then take a run at it.
That is a terrific ball. Batt read the intentions of Robinson, but he shows that he's not just brawn, there's a fair bit of brains there, and also the ability to pick a pass through a crowd of people.
Then Australia do the same. Riley Batt was hemmed in there in the corner and knew that as soon as Bond got free, almost wherever he threw it, it would get to his partner in crime. Still high-low on either side, 3-5, 3-5, 0.5, 0.5. As the fans here at the Champ de Mars start creating some even more atmosphere, as if we needed a little more. McQuillan comes out with the block. And Phipps was doing the blocking work there.
They've done an excellent job here. Really must doff our caps to the vibe that's been created. It's been a contribution from everyone.
There's a great bunted inbound there from... Well, that was a great bunted inbound from Vernon. That was a bit of a speculative pass, and Batt latched onto it and called the timeout in the absolute nick of time. You can see Kristin Hempfling doing the T signal, because it was probably a quarter of a second before he caught it. Riley Batt called for a timeout.
I thought she was saying there's a big tune coming from the DJ to accompany the lights.
Here it comes on cue. So that's another timeout taken by Australia. One timeout left, and there are 11 minutes left of this match. There's going to be some speculative passes in the final quarter when they're out of timeouts.
Riley Batt pirouettes out so impressively. From the challenge of Phipps, the crowd really appreciate it. Oz are back into the lead, and while we are trading tries and there's no break, as it were, in the scores, just having that little one-try advantage at all times is a mini psychological win. Doesn't last long as Stu Robinson coasts home, but it does put the pressure each time on GB that they can only level and then find themselves one behind. That is, of course, unless they do a bit of damage up here in Australia's court.
Well, if GB can level it at coming into the final break, they have the possession arrow.
They sure do. But they've also only got 3 up on both wheels on the court as we take a look at Stu Robinson here in action.
There's a stoppage in play because Jack Smith was down. I was trying to work out what the stoppage was for, but it's Jack Smith who's down. So this resets the shot clock for Australia in possession. Their bench has held up a little board saying a minute 50. That's when they want Australia to score. Australia will be so keen to get the final score and go into the final quarter leading by 1 because Great Britain have the possession arrow. They will get the possession at the start of the final quarter. Penalty try given.
Hey, is the call? Whatever that means.
Bring your A game.
We're going to find out.
There's 2 minutes to go. Bring your A game.
Position A. That's what they want. Stu Robinson wraps around. Jack Smith is going to have to chase, but he doesn't have the wheels. The pass was too ambitious from the high pointer to the low pointer.
He had to do it with both hands because he was under real pressure. Robinson needed to put some backspin on it. Easy to say from here. So there's a turnover, and it was a dead ball, so it's enabled Australia to make some substitutions. Out come Edmondson and Samuel-Jack, so they're going for the 3-2-5-2.5 lineup. Bo Vernon staying out there, of course. Riley Batt staying out there. And it's also a more balanced lineup for GB. Cummins and Stead have come out there.
Bo Vernon needs to have his wits about him. The ball's heading his way, and Stead will arrive to try and shunt him off court. Transfer to Edmondson. Now, pass the parcel amongst the Aussies there.
Doesn't have to bounce it because that counts as a pass, and either a pass or a bounce every 10 seconds. Australia with a 1-point advantage, looking to make it 2 and looking to manage the clock.
Just about does Riley Batt squeak across. Yes, he does. Jack Smith did his level best to slam the door, but it wasn't quick enough. There we go, 2-try lead, which is significant in terms of the context of this encounter.
Samuel-Jack doing great blocking work. The ball needs to go over the halfway line. Robinson's been locked up. Smith again, they keep firing the ball out to Smith. Well done, Jack Smith, for bunting that in and forcing Riley Batt to make contact with it. It's not going to reset the shot clock, but that was an incredible play by Jack Smith. They're asking a lot of him, and he answered the question there. Awkward corner inbound, 25 seconds to go, but they are going to score. That's well done by GB. 48.7 seconds to go. You would say that Australia would like to manage the clock, use their final timeout, run down all 40 seconds, get another timeout. All they need to score is the main thing that Australia need to do.
Stu Robinson turns the ball over. He gets a limb to the ball in this Champ de Mars atmosphere. And he feeds Steads, and GB have command of the clock.
Now, GB can use their timeout if they so desire. They're not going to have to. They just need to run down the clock.
They don't need to. They need to get this last score, but their possession clock, it matches that of the game clock. Robinson weaving. They don't want to leave Australia much time here because they bit back late on in the last period. 3.2 seconds. GB must keep Australia out here. They'll have the first possession of the next quarter as well. Bat sends a Hail Mary up. It won't come to anyone, and that is a fine finish to a taut and tightly contested period by GB. They negate the turnover from Australia. Stu Robinson with the key intervention. And we are level once again heading into a break. End of the third period of the wheelchair rugby bronze medal match. Australia 34, Great Britain 34.
Australia are suffering from last-minute syndrome. The last minute of every quarter, they seem to get incredibly nervous. They force a turnover, they get their noses in front, and then they seem to hand it back. They did it in the final quarter against Japan yesterday, and that's why they're not in the gold medal match. And they've just done it here again in the third quarter. You look at the stats, there's little to choose between them, more turnovers and more steals from GB. But it's really been time management. It's 34 apiece, and GB have the possession arrow going into the final quarter.
A lot of these highlights are feeling like you've seen this movie before, because it is the high-low strategy of both Australia and GB. The dominating proceedings of the link-up play between Phipps and Robinson being matched by Bat and Bond, and then you have the industry of Smith, of Coggan, and McQuill and Vernon matching one another.
Again, GB are going to be the happier of the two teams. They were behind. Australia had a 2-point lead in their grasp, and then GB managed to pressurize them into a mistake in the final minute. GB then managed the clock perfectly, and they find themselves with the opening possession, and they will once again, as they did in the second period, they are going to be able to come out, take the lead, and lead the final quarter from the front. I'm surprised the British and the Australian fans are able to dance and enjoy themselves here. It's probably trying to get rid of nervous energy. There's plenty of green and golds there, too nervous to move.
Fourth and final period of the bronze medal match between Australia and Great Britain commences via the inbound of GB's Jack Smith. The sides are level, it's 34 apiece. 8 minutes to determine who will have bronze hanging from round their neck.
Both teams have gone back to their starting lineup, so they're going for the high-low, 3-5, 3-5, 0.5, 0.5. They're going to live and die by their high-low lineups.
Bond goes over the top, back gratefully receives, and it's a try piece in the opening exchanges.
Immediate pressure, so full court press from Australia.
Phipps has been forced back across the centre line there.
Is it an over and back or a timeout? It's an over and back. An immediate turnover. So Phipps had half of his chair over the line with the ball in his possession, was knocked slightly backwards by a hit by Bond, and that is a huge turnover. Advantage Australia. It's like a backcourt violation in basketball, and we're going to see it here. Great camera work there.
He knew the second he'd been hit, the wincing glance of Aaron Phipps, but there is still time for GB, plenty of time, and as you called it, last-minute itis that Australia have been suffering from. They got an early turnover against Japan in their semi-final, and then were undone by themselves, really, in the final seconds. So lots more twists and turns, I beg your pardon, to come.
Now, a timeout's been called by Riley Batt.
So that is the last of Australia's timeouts, both coach and player-led. GB, conversely, have one player and one coach timeout remaining, so they've got a little bit more influence over the clock, and also a get-out-of-jail-free card. Riley Batt wriggles his way around. McQuillan did some very precise work to leave just enough of an avenue for him to get round.
Phipps is blocked by Bond and McQuillan, so it's Robinson more or less on his own. The ball goes free. Bond shepherds it out, and it's another turnover.
Double turnover early in the period.
I'm confused as to why Batt took the timeout, but we've had another turnover since then. 4 that have been committed by GB, as Aaron Phipps has a wheel replaced.
So Vernon will inbound for Australia. So a double turnover conceded by GB in the opening minute of this period. And that feels like a chasm given the margins that this game has been operating on. Riley Batt finds his way round because Bond runs a nice little block. And as far as Australia are concerned, they need to keep it tight, they need to be error-free, and they need to continue to put the squeeze on GB because it's them who are chasing this now.
They've done everything right, and a 2-point lead in the context of this match, as you say, feels like a chasm. And of course, it immediately goes back to 1, and all it will take is a turnover if Aussie hands get a little bit nervous, and we'll be back level again. So every inbound from Bo Vernon is going to be a nervous one as Bondi does his Statue of Liberty impression.
As Ike Ukinobu-esque.
Yes, we'll be seeing him. Oh, that was a close pass in the final.
Oh, big smash, the timing perfect on the release. It was right on the margin there. Robinson arriving in double quick time, but Bond with the control to get the ball away to Batt. Intensity's ramped up a little bit in this last 30 seconds. Robinson weaves the shoulders. Batt hits the deck, and he shows that he's got the breaking ability. Suspended on court at the moment. It's a try to GB.
There he is. His shoulders have been hanging by a thread for at least a couple of years now, so he doesn't want to be in that position for too long. And the mechanic, Blair Thompson, came out sooner rather than later to flip him back up. Great blocking there by McQuillan. Nervous looks on the Aussies from the entourages in the crowd. Plenty of family out here cheering on the Steelers. Aussies in the key. McQuillan just out of it, making sure his chair well positioned so he doesn't get barged in.
Flipped across to Phipps, and that is a get out of jail for GB there.
Get out of jail, but when you've got Jack Smith and Johnny Coggan, two of the best, in different ways, they're two of the best 0.5 players in the world. Coggan in terms of his blocking and picking, and Smith with the flexibility that he's got for someone with a spinal cord injury. Amazing.
Well, it slipped from Phipps's grip and it could have gone over the back line, so it all could have been lost for GB there, but fortunately fell into the path of Smith, who was perfectly positioned. Phipps has consistently got a bit of... Here we go. Woo. The biggest sigh of relief in the arena from Aaron Phipps. He's having persistent problems with his chair. He's just had the mechanic on again to tend to his wheel. Wasn't a blown out tyre, it's the connection that's holding the wheel in place.
Well, there's also the fact that a brand new wheel can have some gunk on it, some of the sticky stuff, and if you can get some of that on your gloves, then that will help you to reel the ball in and catch it in the last 4 minutes, 50 seconds.
Supersonic from Phipps. He had Bond and Bat cinch upon him, but composed enough to release the ball into the grip of Robinson. Oh, the ball almost gets left behind and Coggan tries to smash. Call from Bat saying that his arm's been grabbed there. He's shaking his head and he's sounding off, and it's Bat at his bristling best in his final quarter of Paralympic wheelchair rugby ever.
If you look up the word feisty in the dictionary, there's the photo of Riley Bat, and that's it. No other words required. Aaron Phipps having yet another change of wheel.
So it looks like GB are going to call a coach's timeout as well. I wonder, is there any concern around the chair of Phipps? These things are pretty indestructible, but on occasion they do get to a level where they can no longer function.
Well, we've got a minute to talk about it. It's obviously not everyday chairs. The players have chairs that they get about in, and then they have chairs for the court, so they're sports chairs. And then the wheels as well they cost four figures of any currency you wish to work it out in, be it British pounds or Australian dollars or euros, since we're here. Incredibly expensive, but it's all high-tech stuff. No substitutions. The teams are still going to live and die by their high-low lineups. Phipps is locked up to the right of your screen. McQuillan gets back there, block on Robinson. Phipps gets back there. Bond tries to push him out of play. Phipps gets round. Nothing wrong with the chair or the wheels there, and they halve the deficit once again.
The match finally poised. The ball in the hands of the Aussie captain, Chris Bond. Just a try between them, and really just a turnover or a steal between them as far as GB are concerned. Australia will know if they can perform one of those, though, that they could be home and hosed. 150 tries across Paris 2024 for the great Riley Bat. He's going off with a bang. Is he going off with a bronze? That's the question. Robinson and Phipps are finding life easy in the try-scoring stakes for the time being, but they need that all-important turnover.
Adam Scaturo, the assistant coach of GB, flashed up a key sign there, and you can see that three of them are indeed back in the key. Back comes Phipps to make it 4. I don't think the fans are really enjoying this. They are all far too nervous. We're getting down into the final half of the final quarter.
And once again, a GB High Point player wears a stunning smash from one of the Aussies, and he travels back into the backcourt. Turnover to Australia. Phipps has been monstered, now to Robinson. Could it be a terminal turnover for GB?
If Australia can get themselves 3 points clear, it's tough for the inbound because Bond had to do the inbound, and Bo Vernon, great position, great chair positioning, great outlet. Australia find themselves 3 points clear. Now I think they're going to start breathing a sigh of relief. It's a good cure for last-minute-itis, being 3 points clear as opposed to just 1.
Phipps to Robinson. They're going to have to press high here, aren't they, GB? They've got to force the issue.
They can't afford to sit back in the key because that will take time off the clock. They need to get Bo Vernon nervous, not that this man ever shows any nerves. That's got to get it over the halfway line before it gets down to 28 on the shot clock.
Oh, he does so by a whisker. Uses every last bit of the levers of Bond as well. Asks him to really get after it.
Ella Sabeljack can barely watch. Jake Howe alongside her.
Some of these Aussie athletes are 3 minutes away from a first ever Paralympic medal themselves. The likes of Miller, McQuillan, Vernon, Foxley Connolly and Nicholson. They've never known what it feels like to be on the podium at a Paralympic Games, and bronze is looking like it could be theirs. That is unless GB can turn things around. They've dug deep before, but this is as deep as they'll have to dig here in Paris. And just this procrastinating from Australia isn't going to help them either, because the time is eking away.
GB need to score quickly and get an immediate turnover. And if they do that, then nerves will set in. Last-minute-itis may be in the air for Australia again. But it's been a fantastic fourth quarter from Australia. They've done everything right. 2 over and backs they've caused. The gap gets down to 2. It's going to be a nervous inbound. Johnny Coggan now needs a change. I think it's just on his strapping. Two minutes to go. This is still within GB's grasp for them to come back. They did it at the end of the second quarter and at the end of the third quarter. As we take a look at the amount of time spent on court, Riley Batt and his personal low pointer, Bo Vernon, 30 minutes and 2 seconds. They have played every second of this bronze medal match. And surprise, surprise, Aaron Phipps having a change of wheel. It's only meant to take a minute, and they seem to be taking a little bit of time over it, particularly since Johnny Coggan also had some repairs on his strapping. Phipps not quite good to go yet. I'm surprised that Riley Batt isn't complaining about the time taken, but he's got his game face on here. Great outlet for Vernon.
Riley Batts looks ahead away, but now it's a chair issue for Chris Bond. So the wear and tear of a grueling 5 days competition coming to pass with the machinery bearing the brunt of it. The athletes are all right, aren't they?
And the mechanics as well. So Blair Thompson, he deserves a medal as well. So it makes it a little bit of an awkward corner inbound that Bond has to do. So Batts going to need to get himself free.
Jack Smith gets an arm in, and that's the turnover that GB were craving. Phipps to Robinson, game on.
It's a one-point game. That was the turnover they needed. Jack Smith again, brilliant play. All of a sudden, it's an awkward inbound, and it's Bond taking it again.
Vernon juggles, Bond collects, and he manages miraculously to shove it to Bat.
The last-minute-itis has come early. It's come with 2 minutes to go.
Well, I just wonder if those 2 back-to-back mechanical timeouts just led to a lapse of concentration in the Australians. They were laser-focused. But now, it is GB who have that bit of wind in their sails. Phipps does look to go it alone, but he doesn't quite get there because Bat shuts him off.
GB still have a timeout they can take if they need to.
Oh my goodness.
It's a huge turnover. Robinson couldn't corral it, and it's still a 2-point lead for Australia, and they now have possession. I think that says it all. That was in GB's grasp there. They could have got it back to within 1 point, and the nerves from Australia. So, again, it's a corner inbound. Australia have made substitutions. On come Sabljak and Edmondson. Safe pairs of hands. They want mid-pointers in there, so they've got 3 people with good handling skills and good trunk functions to try to see out the remainder of this match.
They need to get out of their half, first and foremost. Bat arrives and he lurches across just before the 27 mark ticks on.
No timeouts for them, of course.
Edmondson, the New South Wales Gladiator connection.
1 score now will do it for Australia.
Edmondson arrives and he makes it count.
That was so close. Were his wheels over the line before he got it? Christian Hempfling perfectly positioned and said no, and it's a 3-point gap. The Australian fans in the crowd going wild. 2 points clear, 28.4 seconds to go. Plenty of ball handlers on the court. Bat needs to get it over the halfway line, and he does so.
The home straight for the Steelers. The friends, the family, the die-hard Australian fans allow them to believe. They allow themselves to celebrate. GB cruise home for one last try, but it will only be in consolation.
Well, GB not going to give up yet. There's going to be pressure on the inbound. And now it's done.
Australia have done it. It is a bronze burnished climax to Riley Batt's fated Paralympic story. Tears of joy for the Steelers fans. It isn't steel, it's bronze for the Australian wheelchair rugby team.
I don't know whether the member of the entourage there will be able to get the ball out of the venue, because you have your bags checked when you leave, but hopefully they'll be allowed to take that souvenir with them. Australia win the bronze medal match 50-48, a match that was in doubt right up until a minute from the end.
A great outpouring of emotion from the fans, the players, who have been on an incredible journey all together. They've taken us with them. And Chris Bond, the captain, has led Australia to a first Paralympic medal in 2 attempts. It was 4th place for Australia in Tokyo. It's the same agonising position for Great Britain, who came in as Paralympic champions after their heroics in Japan.
The looks on the faces of the Steelers say it all. Big hug there for James McQuillan, who only made his debut a couple of years ago. Emily Miller brought back into the squad just recently. Basketball Paralympian now, a bronze medalist in wheelchair rugby is Ella Sabljak. And how wonderful it is for the fans that have travelled halfway across the world, and for Riley Batt making his Paralympic bow as they get into the huddle.
Well, they've exacted a bit of revenge for the defeat inflicted upon GB in the group stage, and they've exacted it at the most exacting time with a medal on the line. And whilst disappointment probably lies somewhere in the backs of their minds from not being in the gold medal match, they have rallied and they have risen, and they put in a bronze medal winning performance here at Paris 2024.
Chris Bond, what a captain's knock from him. And then the two high-profile high pointers, Bat and Robinson, in an embrace right at the end of the match. Bat and Bond, likely the last time that they will play together.
In excess of 500 appearances for the Steelers between those two legends. And I do mean legends of wheelchair rugby, particularly in Australian colours. And a fitting send-off for Riley Bat. It may not be the gold that he would have dreamed of, but another medal to hang in the cabinet.
Team GB pushed them all the way. Australia came out all guns blazing at the start of the fourth quarter and forced turnovers. They got themselves 3 points clear, but Team GB never backed down, forcing a turnover late on, sowing the seeds of doubt and nerves into the minds and the hearts of the Steelers. It was an incredibly nervous last minute or two for Australia, so full credit to Team GB. For the pressure they put them under, they made Australia really work for that bronze medal.
The next generation watching on. That's a beautiful sight with the family.
James McQuillan, and I do believe that was his daughter Lily.
And Ella Sabeljack. Second time as a Paralympian, a first as a wheelchair rugby player. She picked up a ninth place finish in Tokyo as a basketballer. She now leaves Paris with a medal. What about this guy, Drew? What about this man who is bowing out? Not Bondi, who's been alongside him all this time, but Riley Bat, who had a profound impact on those game statistics, on the statistics that have ultimately led to this Australian triumph. The turnovers against GB proving terminal despite their 4 steals. Penalties also going against the defending champions. Australia victorious, and confirmation in the bracket of that victory, of that bronze medal. They have defeated Great Britain, and it just remains the gold medal to settle between Japan and the United States of America. A bit of clarity in the Paralympic World Rankings is clear after this session. Denmark claiming 7th over Germany in 8th, and Australia with bronze. Great Britain finished 4th.
teams, volunteers, the ones in the green uniforms all around the venue on court as well, helping with the match itself, giving up their time.
Enthralling and exhilarating session at the Champ de Mars at Paris 2024 comes to a conclusion with a bit more clarity as to the global order in wheelchair rugby. Denmark have claimed 7th place with victory over their European counterparts, Germany, in the classification match, whilst for Australia, they are the bronze medalists. They've defeated Great Britain, who will finish in Paris in 4th. We continue to be exhilarated by the sport of wheelchair rugby at the Champ de Mars at Paris 2024, day 5 of the Paralympic Games.